Hello, how are you? This is Fix It Pros again. We got another video. We're going to repair an iPhone 7 Plus. As you can see, the LCD is completely shot. So the first step we're going to do is use our pentalobe screwdriver, okay? And we're going to begin to separate the screws. With the 7 Plus, it's changed a little bit from the other phones. We're going to need to use a Y tool, so you're going to definitely need one of those tools. It's not just a regular screwdriver. And we're going to use the Sesmo to slowly lift this. There is a bit of adhesive. You just want to be kind of careful. And you just want to be a little careful when taking this apart. You want to use this kind of prying back and forth motion to to break up the glue. I don't think this one's been repaired before. You're going to see the adhesive. And if you want to, if the LCD was good, I definitely would have recommended a little heat. But since I knew this LCD was already damaged, although you can still do this method without heating it and without damaging the LCD. But if you want to be super extra careful, we'll do it. Okay, so we're gonna pry this apart now. Be careful because this has changed from the 6 series. 6 series opened up this way. This opens up like a book. So you want to be careful not to break any cables. Here's your camera cable, front camera flex cable, and these are the LCD cables. You want to be very careful with these, and also this one. You don't want to tear that. So this opens up. Now again, we're going to use our Y tool, and we're going to open this up. And it's you want to be very careful taking apart these because you can strip them. So you kind of want to lock it in place, put a little pressure, and turn the bolt, because if you strip these, you're gonna have a lot of problems. Okay, same thing with the front camera. Just lock it in, apply the pressure, and turn. And I like to keep these in order. Okay, now we can use our Sesmo, and sometimes the battery lifts off with that plate. I like to disconnect the battery. I like to use my nail, but you know, it's better to use another tool. So disconnect this. The camera, I would recommend using something flat to get underneath there, not just your nail, because you can kind of rip apart the cable there. So I like to just disconnect this gently, and then the other as well. Okay, now that's come off. Put the motherboard to the side for a minute. What I like to do, and again, Y tool for the home button, lock it in, apply pressure, and twist. Lock it in. Feel that it's locked in place. Apply the pressure. Twist. Okay, same thing. Especially this middle one. Make sure this is on a flat surface. You don't want to do this in your hand, because you want to make sure that you don't strip this. It's very important. If you did strip that, there is a way to get the home button out. It's a little difficult. You can potentially damage the flex cable. So I don't recommend it. Just be careful the first time. Okay, take this plate off. Okay, now I like to use, one second. So what I'd like to use is this, like a tool that you can hold the home button down and then very gently lift up the home button flex connection. Okay, so that's loose. Now with this, you just want to use a little bit of heat to kind of pry that open because there is an adhesive. You can gently maneuver this, but you want to be very careful, especially when you don't use heat. Okay, very gently. Now you can disconnect the home button. Now what I like to do is to make sure that everything's working properly. I like to disconnect the home button and to attach it. Sometimes you have to just use a Sesmo to kind of maneuver the cable so it doesn't get stuck on the back if there might be adhesive. So it can connect, make connection, and then you can let it go. Okay. I like to connect first and to make sure everything's working properly before I completely install everything, because if there's a problem with the screen or the home button connection, instead of disassembling the phone again, you can just take the screen off. I'll just give it a second. And this will power on fairly quickly if the home button's working. Again, this one is connect to iTunes, so we're going to have to, everything seems to be working, but this is going to have to be restored. Okay, so we will have to restore this, but you see that it is working. Okay, so we're going to power this down. Always power your devices down. Okay, give it a second for the lights to come off, and then you can disconnect it again. And then what I like to do, put that off to the side, is to now I can disassemble everything. So again, we have the side screws. Also use the Y tool. Okay. Try to keep those in order, even though these are the same size, but try to keep them in order. Okay, then we're going to use a regular screwdriver. Definitely keep these in order. I mean, keep everything in order, but definitely keep these in order, because if you put the wrong bolt in, you can screw through the frame and touch the glass on the other side and potentially cause a swirl in the paint, or even crack the glass. If there's enough pressure, it could potentially crack the glass. Okay, so now this is the front facing camera. This is the speaker. We want to gently pop this out. Usually, like I said, a little bit of heat is always better. Okay, but if you don't have heat, you can just be careful. Same thing with here. You want to be super careful here, because I don't know if you can notice, but there's a piece of tape on top of the flex cable and an adhesive. You want to get as close to the frame as possible, because you can actually split the flex cable, because it's actually there's pins that are soldered together, and if you get in the middle of that, you will split the cable, and then you just destroyed the camera. You're gonna get a new camera. So just be really careful as you take that off. I'm gonna apply a little heat. Get my heat gun. Apply a little bit of heat. Okay. Always makes the job a little bit easier, and you don't have to worry about breaking a cable because it's super glued down. Okay, there we go. Seem to have gotten it. Just got to be very careful, because this part is like $20 for a new one. Okay, so there you go. And you can see here, this is the microphone, and this is the glue part. So it's best to take it off all the way, that way you don't destroy that cable. Okay, now we're gonna finish up. We're gonna take this one off, and we're gonna take this back plate, and there's a double tape that's connected here, so you can just kind of lift that up. Okay, and take that off. Okay, so now this is completely if this is original Apple cable, Apple logo there, this we can refurbish if it was good, but obviously this is junk, so I'm going to set it to the side. And we are now going to put on this screen. I'm going to take off some of these tapes that are on here. Just take these tapes off. They usually come on the aftermarket screens. Okay. Take that one off, and now we're going to take our plate. Now make sure that this metal piece, okay, goes underneath this part. So just swivel these through, be really careful, and make sure that, see that metal goes underneath that chip right there, okay? And try to get it as flush as possible and as straight as possible here, so you can get kind of like a kind of flat fixture there. So you might have to lift it, adjust it a little bit, straighten it out, apply a little pressure, and let it sit there, because this piece, there's an actually in a groove you can see in the motherboard right here where it's going to sit. So if it's crooked, it's going to touch here and it's not going to close right. Okay, there's a couple things you can do with some tape it down, but if you just apply enough pressure, hold it down while you put your screws in, you'll be okay. So here we go, putting these screws in. Okay. Those in. Okay, great. So now we're going to put in the bottom. Make sure this is a little straight. It's pretty good. This looks a little crooked. I don't know why, but it does a little crooked. I think it'll be fine. Okay. Now we're going to put this down. This is the shield with the Y tool. And make sure everything's flat. Make sure it's on a flat surface, because you don't want to strip any of these, or you want to make sure the button's in correctly. Everything's nice and flat, flush. Okay, great. This one uses a regular screwdriver. Okay. Flip it over. Sometimes there's some like adhesive from the home button that gets stuck there, but this one looks pretty flush, so it's good. Now we're going to install the front camera. I always make sure that that's nice and clean, looks pretty clean. And we're going to install this camera here. There's some little pins you see there. Make sure they go in there correctly, and make sure the proximity sensor is in the correct spot. Make sure it's sitting nice and flush. You're gonna feel it until it goes in. Make sure it's nice and flush, because if it's not flush, what can happen is the proximity sensor won't work. So you'll think it's in, and then when you go to make that phone call, the screen stays on, and you got to disassemble the whole phone again. So there you go. Make sure it's nice and flush. Okay, you feel it click in. Then get your speaker. See those little gold pins? It's gonna fit right there. Okay, right on top there. Keep everything flush. Pop your camera in. Okay, then you're gonna take your shield, place that on top. Make sure everything's nice and flush, feels flat. Then we already set everything up in order, so we don't have to spend time guessing what screws where. Okay. Again, as soon as it stops spinning, stop, because you'll pierce through the other side. So as soon as it stops, that's it. Don't keep twisting it, because you will crack the glass or scratch the glass, and it'll be like a little swirly circle on the other side, which is kind of annoying, especially you get your screen repaired and right here you'll have like another swirl. It'll look like another camera or something. It's kind of annoying. So just want to check something. Yeah, it's fine. Perfect. Okay, great. So now we're pretty much set. So now we're going to look at this. There's that extra tape. I mean, this seal's been broken, so I don't know. Sometimes they could leave it in there if you can't salvage it. There's some little dents here. So we used to take a hammer, but you can mess up the motherboard. Just be careful there. Just kind of slip there. But just be careful. We can always touch that up a little bit. And right here, you see these corners. You just got to be real careful to just lift them, push them out a little bit, just enough to where your new screen is going to pop in. Just kind of trying to round out the metal. I'm just really applying pressure on the corners just with the tool. I'm not really cutting in on the other side because you can scratch the paint or whatnot. That looks pretty good. Now we're gonna again just reconnect your stuff. Front facing camera. This piece. battery. And then you're going to use your Y tool again. Okay. Make sure everything's in order. Okay. Okay, and again, remember, as soon as thing stop turning, just stop. And you don't have to worry about and then so just take your screwdriver, okay, this is not a Y tool, okay, get everything in place, make sure there's no bolts anywhere, and just get the grooves in there, okay, and make sure that down here sometimes that wire cable can get in the way, so make sure it's nice and tucked in there, okay, and then you should get a nice crisp close. And then you're gonna be done. Just gonna power it on real quick. So you start seeing the Apple logo up here. All right, and there you have it. Another 7 plus repair. Alrighty, and you'll see it come on eventually, but this one has to be restored. Alright, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.